The rain-slicked pavement of rural Ohio cracked under Levi's boots like the fragile vows of his childhood as he stormed out the screen door. The echo of his father's bellow, "You're no son of mine," still ringing in his ears like a gunshot. In that single, shattering moment, the world tilted. His mother's silence, a blade sharper than any word, and the family Bible thudding against the wall where it had been hurled, pages fluttering like dying birds. Levi didn't look back. He couldn't. Not when the boy he'd kissed in the barn shadows, his first, fumbling taste of truth, had just been outed by a neighbor's prying eyes, turning their safe haven into a funeral pyre for the life he'd known. Levi Harper was 18, all sharp angles and unspoken fire, when the disownment carved its first scar across his soul. It was a humid August evening in 2015, the kind where cicadas screamed like sirens against the fading light of their crumbling farmhouse in Lancaster County, Ohio. The Amishes weren't far off. Ironic, given how his family clung to their own brand of rigid faith. Mennonite roots twisted into something fiercer, more isolationist. Levi's father, Harlan, a broad-shouldered mechanic with grease-blackened hands and a temper forged in Vietnam flashbacks, had always preached love thy neighbor, but that love stopped cold at the front porch when it came to his only son. "You're a goddamn abomination," Harlan had roared, veins bulging like rivers about to flood. After Mrs. Klein from down the road had whispered poison into their ears about seeing Levi with Tommy Ellis behind the feed store. Tommy, with his freckled grin and calloused farmer's hands, had been Levi's secret for months. A stolen glance across the county fair, a brush of fingers in the hayloft that ignited something Levi couldn't name until it burned him alive. But now, Tommy was miles away, fled to Cleveland with his tail between his legs, leaving Levi to face the inferno alone. His mother, Ruth, stood frozen in the kitchen doorway, flour-dusted apron clutched like a shield, her eyes, once soft as fresh-baked bread, now hollowed by betrayal. "Levi," she'd whispered earlier that day, before the storm broke, "whatever this is a phase. Pray it away, son. For us." But prayer hadn't worked. It never did. Levi had knelt in the attic night after night, begging God for straightness, for normalcy, only to wake with dreams of boys' laughter echoing like gospel in his chest. And now, as Harlan's words hung heavy in the air, Ruth said nothing. Her silence was the betrayal that cut deepest, a mother's love, conditional as a summer storm. Levi grabbed his duffel bag, stuffed with nothing but faded jeans, a dog-eared copy of Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass pilfered from the library, and the $247 he'd scraped from bussing tables at the diner. "I'm gone," he spat, voice cracking like thunder. The door slammed behind him, and the world swallowed him whole, hitchhiking thumb out on Route 30, trucks rumbling past like indifferent gods, until a grizzled trucker named Earl pulled over in his Peterbilt, reeking of diesel and regret. "Kid, you look like hell warmed over," Earl grunted, tossing Levi a lukewarm Coke from the dash. Running from the devil or chasing him, Levi slumped into the passenger seat, the vinyl sticky against his skin. "Both, I guess." He didn't elaborate. Earl didn't pry. They drove through the night, radio crooning Johnny Cash ballads about walking the line, and by dawn, Cincinnati's skyline loomed like a promise, taller, grittier, alive with the pulse of a city that didn't care who you loved, as long as you paid your rent. He crashed on a buddy's couch, Tommy's cousin, actually, a lanky artist named Jax who painted murals of queer icons on abandoned warehouses. Jax was all tattoos and easy smiles, the first person to hug Levi without flinching. "Ohio's a black hole, man," Jax said, passing a joint that Levi declined but appreciated the offer. "New York's where the real America's at. Lights, cameras, action, and boys who kiss back." Levi nodded, but his heart wasn't ready for reinvention. He waitressed at a dive bar in Over the Rhine, slinging beers to hipsters and heartbreakers, dodging grabs from drunks who mistook his lithe frame for invitation. Nights blurred into poetry scribbled on napkins, verses about barns burning in the mind, mothers' silences louder than sermons. One rainy Tuesday, he met Mason. Mason Riley was 22, a transplant from Boston with Irish fire in his veins and a voice like smoked whiskey. Deep, resonant, the kind that could hush a room or shatter it. He was busking on Fountain Square, guitar slung low on his hips, belting out an original about lost boys and city lights. Levi stopped dead, coffee spilling from his to-go cup, mesmerized by the way Mason's fingers danced over the strings, coaxing confessions from wood and wire. When the song ended, applause rippling like waves, Mason's blue eyes locked on Levi's. "You dropped something," Mason said, nodding at the puddle at Levi's feet. His grin was crooked, disarming. "Or is that just an excuse to talk to the guy with the guitar?" Levi flushed, heat crawling up his neck. "Nah, just your song." It hit home. He fumbled for words, the Ohio drawl thickening under scrutiny. "Like you knew the ache." Mason packed up his case, coins jingling like secrets. "Ache is my middle name. Coffee, my treat. Unless you're allergic to caffeine and charm." They ended up at a corner cafe, steam rising from mugs like unspoken desires. Mason was a music major dropout, chasing dreams in Nashville but detouring through Cincy for gigs. "Parents wanted me in suits, crunching numbers," he confessed, tracing the rim of his cup. "But numbers don't sing. They just add up to nothing." Levi shared fragments, the farm, the kiss, the door slamming shut. Mason listened, really listened, his hand brushing Levi's across the table, electric as a live wire. By midnight, they were walking the serpentine paths of Eden Park, city lights winking below like fallen stars. Mason stopped under an ancient oak, pulling Levi close. "You're not broken, Levi. You're a goddamn poem waiting to be read." Their first kiss was tentative, tasting of rain and revelation, Mason's stubble rough against Levi's smooth jaw. In that moment, Ohio felt like a distant myth, and New York, a whisper on the wind, called them both. But dreams have teeth. Levi's poetry caught fire online after Jax posted a video of him reciting at an open mic. Raw, visceral lines about disowned sons and forbidden touches. Shares snowballed. A literary agent in Brooklyn DM'd him. "Kid, you've got voice. Come to the city. We'll make you a star." Mason, ever the dreamer, booked the Greyhound tickets. "Together," he said, sealing it with a kiss that promised forever. "We'll conquer it all." As the bus pulled out of Cincinnati, Levi pressed his forehead to the window, Harlan and Ruth's farmhouse shrinking to a speck. He didn't know then that fame would amplify the void, or that family could Photoshop their way back into your heart, pixel by pixel. New York City hit like a fever dream, honking taxis, steam vents hissing like dragons, the endless grind of ambition etched into every hurried face. Levi and Mason sublet a shoebox in Bushwick, walls thin as promises, the L train rattling their bones at dawn. Levi's agent, a sharp-tongued firecracker named Elena, hustled him into readings at the Bowery Poetry Club, where his words, laced with rural grit and queer fury, drew crowds of wide-eyed millennials and jaded critics alike. "You're the voice of the dispossessed," Elena crowed after his first sold-out night, champagne flute raised in their cramped after-party. Raw. Real. American as apple pie and regret, Mason gigged at open mics in the village, his folk rock anthems weaving tales of blue-collar boys loving against the grain. They were a duo in every sense. Levi's verses feeding Mason's melodies, late nights in their apartment turning into jam sessions where lyrics bled into harmonies. "This one's for you," Mason murmured one evening, strumming a chord progression that mirrored the lilt of Levi's Ohio twang. The song, Barnlight Confessions, became their first viral hit, Mason's YouTube channel exploding overnight, Levi's name taglined in the credits. Fame crept in sideways. A BuzzFeed feature on queer poets redefining the Midwest exodus put Levi on the map. Suddenly, he was reading at Lincoln Center, his book Disowned Echoes debuting at 3 on the indie charts. Mason's EP, City Saints, charted on Spotify's queer playlist, their faces plastered on subway ads. Levi, ethereal with his dark curls and haunted eyes. Mason, rugged charm personified, guitar like an extension of his soul. Paparazzi flashes became background noise, red carpets a blur of designer loans and awkward small talk. But beneath the glitter, cracks spiderwebbed. Levi's phone stayed silent from Lancaster. No calls, no cards, just the ghost of Ruth's apron in his dreams. He'd wake gasping, Mason's arms a anchor pulling him back. "They're wrong about you," Mason would whisper, lips brushing Levi's temple. "About us." Their love was a quiet rebellion. Lazy Sundays in bed, take-out tie on the fire escape, Mason's fingers tracing the faded scar on Levi's knuckles from that final farmhouse fight. Sex was sacrament, slow, exploratory, Mason's body a map Levi memorized with tongue and touch, gasps echoing off peeling wallpaper. Yet envy simmered in Mason's eyes during Levi's book signings, the way fans lingered, touching Levi's hand like he held absolution. "You're the star now," Mason joked once, too sharply, over beers at a Williamsburg dive. Levi laughed it off, but the seed lodged deep. Mason's gigs dried up amid label rejections. Too folksy, not pop enough, while Levi's inbox overflowed with TED Talk invites and Netflix development deals. "It's us against the world," Levi reminded him, pulling him into a dance in their kitchen to Al Green's croon on vinyl. Mason smiled, but his grip tightened, possessive, as if fame might steal Levi away. The betrayal brewed slowly, a storm cloud over their skyline. It started with a party at Elena's Soho loft, industry types swirling like sharks, cocaine lines dusted on marble counters. Levi stuck to ginger ale, nursing the edges of his anxiety, while Mason dove in, charming execs with tales of Boston blizzards and bar fights. That's where he met Derek Voss, a Silver Fox producer with a penthouse in Tribeca and a Rolodex thicker than the Bible Harlan once wielded. "Derek's interested in my sound," Mason confided later, buzzed and buoyant, as they hailed a cab home. "Says I need polish, but he's got the vision." Levi nodded, pride swelling until the late nights began. Mason at meetings, phone buzzing with encrypted texts, coming home smelling of bourbon and someone else's cologne. Levi buried it in deadlines, His second book fractured hymns demanding verses that poured out his soul onto the page. The high point came in spring 2018. Levi's poetry slam at the Apollo Theater, Mason opening with a duet version of Barn Light. The crowd roared, confetti raining like blessings, and backstage, they collided in a frenzy of kisses, adrenaline electric. "I love you," Levi gasped, Mason's hands pinning him to the dressing room mirror. More than words. Mason's response was a growl, bodies merging in a rhythm as old as longing. But fame's shadow lengthened. Levi's profile spiked with a New Yorker profile, the disowned bard of Bushwick, and suddenly, he was fielding calls from Oprah's team. Mason, meanwhile, signed with Derek's label, a six-figure deal that came with strings. Ditch the folk, lean pop. And Levi, he's baggage, too literary, not marketable. Mason laughed it off at first, but the meetings stretched, Derek's influence seeping in like ink on wet paper. The first real fracture hit over Thanksgiving. Levi, adrift in the city that never slept, suggested a quiet dinner. Just them, turkey from the bodega, gratitude for the improbable life they'd built. Mason balked. Derek's hosting a thing. Networking, babe. You get it. Levi did, intellectually, but his heart echoed with Ruth's silence. He ate alone that night, scrolling Instagram feeds of perfect families, the ache a hollow drum in his chest. By Christmas, the photoshopped card arrived, a glossy envelope postmarked Lancaster, no return address until he tore it open. There it was, the Harpers in front of their evergreen, smiles strained under twinkling lights. Harlan's arm around Ruth, and impossibly Levi, 16 again, photoshopped into the frame, his high school grin pasted beside them like a band-aid on a bullet wound. No note, just the card's inscription, wishing you joy this season. Love, Mom and Dad. Joy? It was a slap, a digital resurrection of the boy they'd buried. Levi's hands shook as he showed Mason, who frowned over the image. That's fucked up. Call them. Demand answers. But Levi couldn't. The phone stayed dark, his thumb hovering over the blocks. Instead, he channeled it into a poem. Pixel Ghosts, that went viral, fans dissecting the betrayal in comment threads. Mason read it aloud that night, voice thick. This is gold, Lev. Raw gold. But his eyes darted to his own phone. Derek's text lighting the screen, holiday party tonight. Don't bail. Levi let him go, curling into sheets that smelled of absence. When Mason stumbled in at 3 a.m., Levi pretended sleep, but the lie cracked at dawn. Who is he? Levi whispered, the words a knife unsheathed. Mason froze, shirt half unbuttoned. What? The cologne. The late nights. Derek. Levi's voice rose, a tremor in the tower. Mason's face crumpled, guilt etching lines deeper than fame's flashbulbs. It's not Lev. It's just pressure. The deal. Bullshit. Tears hot on Levi's cheeks. You're slipping away. Mason reached for him, but Levi recoiled. I love you. This city's eating us alive. The fight spilled into the streets, voices echoing off brick walls, until Mason stormed out, slamming the door like Harlan once had. Levi sank to the floor, the photoshopped card clutched in his fist, pixels blurring with sobs. Fame had made him visible, but invisibility, the kind that family wields like a weapon, cut to the bone. Winter 2019 clamped down on New York like a vice, snowdrifts piling against their Bushwick windows as Levi's world unraveled thread by thread. Pixel ghosts became a phenomenon. Levi's readings packing Carnegie Hall, his face on the Ellen Show where he read it live, voice breaking on the line. They crop me in, but I'm forever out of frame. Applause thundered, but backstage, Ellen's hug felt hollow, Mason's absence a phantom limb throbbing with neglect. Mason threw himself into the album, Derek's penthouse a gilded cage of synths and session musicians. It's evolution, he'd argue during their fractured dinners, takeout congealing on plates. You write about pain, I sing it out. We're the same. But Levi saw the erosion. Mason's songs shifting from heartfelt folk to glossy anthems, lyrics sanitized of the queer grit that once defined him. Derek hovered in every call, every lyric tweak, his Boston drawl a velvet noose. Kids got potential, Derek told Levi once, cornering him at a release party, hand lingering too long on Levi's shoulder. If he sheds the baggage, Levi pulled away, stomach churning. He's not baggage. He's my partner, Derek smirked, swirling his scotch. Partners lift you up, don't drag you down. Think about it. The seed of doubt flowered into paranoia. Levi stalked Mason's Instagram, staged shots with Derek, arms slung casual, captions winking innuendo. Late-night calls from the studio stretched till dawn, Mason's voice hoarse with excuses. One February blizzard night, Levi tailed him, ridiculous, he knew, but desperation clawed like frostbite. From a shadowed stoop, he watched Mason emerge from Derek's building, collar upturned, a goodbye kiss lingering on the curb. Not on the cheek. Full, hungry, the kind Levi once claimed exclusively. Heart in freefall, Levi confronted him the next morning over burnt toast. I saw you, the words flat, final. Mason's face drained of color, mug shattering on the linoleum. Lev, it's not. Derek's intense. The pressure. You kissed him. Levi's voice splintered. After everything? After I poured my guts out for you. Mason collapsed into a chair, head in hands. I fucked up. The deal's everything, it's our ticket out. I thought one slip. He trailed off, eyes pleading. I love you. This city's a meat grinder. Derek's just. Survival. Survival. Levi laughed, bitter as black coffee. You think betraying me builds dreams? My parents disowned me for less. The photoshopped card lay on the fridge, a mocking talisman. Mason glanced at it, jaw tightening. They're ghosts. This is real. Us. Fighting for more. But the fight was over. Levi packed that afternoon. Elena's offer of a sublet in Chelsea a lifeline. Take space, she advised. Her no-nonsense vibe a bomb. Fame chews lovers like gum, Mason begged. On his knees in the hallway. But Levi walked away, duffel slung over shoulder. The L trains wail a dirge for what they'd lost. Solo. Levi bloomed in isolation. His TED Talk, The Poetry of Exile, garnered millions of views. Invitations flooding from universities, festivals. He dated casually, a barista with dimples, a playwright with fire, but none stuck. Ghosts of Mason's touch haunting every embrace. Spring brought renewal. A collaboration with Lin-Manuel Miranda on a queer history musical. Levi's words weaving into hip-hop refrains that sold out Broadway previews. Meanwhile, Mason's album Neon Saints dropped to mixed reviews. Polished, yes, but soulless. Critics panning it as calculated heartbreak without the heart. Derek's fingerprints smeared every track. Rumors swirling of their creative partnership in tabloids. Levi avoided the headlines, burying hurt in revisions for his third book, Reclaimed Shadows, a memoir threading his disownment with threads of resilience. The past resurfaced in summer swelter. A letter from Ruth, handwritten, postmarked Lancaster, slipped under his Chelsea door. Dear Levi, we've seen your face on the news. So proud, even if we can't say it right. Harlan's heart. The softer now. Come home, Christmas. Please. Enclosed, another card. This one with a family photo. Levi's current image, smiling from a book jacket, crudely pasted beside them, edges uneven, a child's scissor job gone wrong. Levi's chest caved. Pride warred with longing. The boy who'd fled craved absolution, but the man knew better. He burned the letter in the sink, flames licking paper like judgment, but kept the card, pinning it to his corkboard amid rejection slips turned triumphs. Mason resurfaced in September, unannounced at Levi's reading in the Village Vanguard. Levi spotted him in the back row thinner, eye-shadowed, applause masking the tremor in his clap. Post-show, Mason waited in the alley, rain pattering like hesitant apologies. Leviticus, one word, cracked open. Levi froze, book tucked under arm, the neon sign buzzing overhead. What do you want? Mason, to say I'm sorry. Derek. It was a mistake. The album tanked, label dropped me. I chased the wrong light. Rain slicked his hair, vulnerability stripping him bare. You were right. I betrayed us. Levi's throat tightened, memories flooding. That first kiss in Eden Park, harmonies in their shoebox kitchen. Why now, when I'm finally whole? Because I'm not. Without you, Mason stepped closer, hand outstretched. One coffee? No strings. Against better judgment. Levi nodded. They ducked into a 24-hour diner. Formica tables scarred like old wounds, coffee black as regret. Mason spilled it all. Derek's manipulations, the cocaine-fueled nights, the hollow applause that echoed his isolation. I thought fame would fill the hole your leaving made. It just widened. Levi listened, walls cracking. You filled mine once. But trust. It's fragile. I know. Mason's fingers brushed Levi's across the booth. Tentative. Let me earn it back. They didn't kiss that night, no grand reunion under streetlights. But walks became routine, Hudson River paths at dusk. Levi's verses recited to Mason's guitar, slow rebuilds of what shattered. Intimacy returned in whispers, a hand on a knee during a movie, a shared blanket on Levi's fire escape. Sex, when it happened, was reclamation. Urgent, tender. Mason's apologies murmured against Levi's skin like litanies. Fall deepened their thaw. Levi introduced Mason to his circle, Elena, who eyed him warily, Lin-Manuel, who jammed with them till dawn. Mason picked up his acoustic again, ditching pop for originals infused with Levi's influence. Tracks like Alley Absolution, raw folk laced with redemption. But Harlan and Ruth's shadow loomed. As Christmas neared, Ruth's emails, yes, she'd learned Gmail, pleaded we've changed. Church groups studying your book. See the card we sent the neighbors? You're in it. Attached. A digital version. Levi's Broadway headshot seamlessly blended. Harlan's arm around his digital shoulder. Levi showed Mason, who whistled low. Creepy as hell. But maybe they're trying. Trying hurts more than silence sometimes. Levi's voice wavered. Mason pulled him close, chin on his shoulder. Then we face it together. Like we should have from the start. December 2019 draped Manhattan in tinsel and tension. Holiday markets hawking chestnuts and cheer while Levi wrestled the pull of home. His musical, Exile Arias, opened off-Broadway to raves, the New York Times calling it a queer Hamilton for the heartland dispossessed. But success amplified the void. Fans mobbed stage doors with tales mirroring his own. Your words saved me from my family's fire. Levi signed books with trembling hands. Mason's steady presence at his side a quiet victory. Yet the Harper card haunted him, forwarded by a fan in Ohio. The annual mailing to kin and congregation. Levi's image now professionally edited. Smiling amid the clan, as if disownment were a deleted scene. Social media buzzed. A viral tweet dissected it. Levi Harper's bigot parents fake reunite via Photoshop. Disowned echoes. Levi's mentions flooded with support, but each like twisted the knife. Public pity for private pain. Mason, sensing the storm, booked flights to Columbus. Not Lancaster yet. Neutral ground. We dip a toe. See if it's piranhas or possibility. Levi resisted, then relented. Mason's redemption arc had softened his edges. Their love rekindled into something fiercer, more honest. Nights now were marathons of connection. Bodies entwined. Mason's songs serenading Levi to sleep. Whispers of future tours and co-authored albums. They landed in Ohio under gray skies, renting a car for the hour's drive to a Midway diner, neutral turf, per Mason's plan. Levi's pulse thrummed like a bass line as they pulled into the gravel lot, the neon EAT sign flickering like a hesitant welcome. Inside, vinyl booths cracked with age, the air thick with grease and ghosts. Harlan and Ruth waited in a corner booth. Older now, Harlan's hair silvered, Ruth's face lined with unspoken years. Levi's legs locked at the threshold. I can't. Mason's hand on his back. Warm anchor. You can. And I'm right here. They approached. Air electric with unsaid sins. Ruth rose first, arms outstretched. But Levi stiffened. She faltered, sitting with a tremulous smile. Levi, you're a man now. Famous. Her voice quavered, eyes tracing his face like a lost map. Harlan grunted, avoiding gaze. Saw you on the TV. Big city suits you. Small talk stuttered. Weather. Levi's book sales. Mason introduced as my partner. The word hung. A gauntlet thrown. Harlan's jaw clenched. Ruth's fingers twisted her napkin. Then, the card slid across the table like contraband. We wanted you with us, Ruth murmured. For the holidays. Even if. Not in person. Levi's laugh was sharp. Involuntary. Photoshopped into family? That's not inclusion. Mom. That's erasure. Harlan shifted. Voice gruff. Times change. Church says. Church. Levi's volume rose. Diner heads turning. The same church that called me an abomination? You threw that Bible at me. That. Mom. You just. Watched. Ruth's eyes welled. I was scared. Of losing you to the world. But we lost you anyway. Sobs broke free. Harlan's hand on hers. A tenderness Levi hadn't witnessed in decades. Mason squeezed Levi's knee under the table. Silent support. "We're not here to fight," he said softly. "Just to hear you out." The dam cracked. Harlan spoke, halting, raw of his own buried pains. A cousin lost to AIDS in the 80s, shame silenced by faith's iron grip. "I saw myself in you, boy. Feared you'd suffer like him." Ruth confessed her complicity, nights praying for normalcy while clipping Levi's articles in secret. "Pride's a sin," they said. "But silence is worse." Words tumbled, apologies fractured by pauses, Levi's hurt spilling in verses recited from memory, lines from reclaimed shadows about barns and betrayals. Tears flowed freely, coffee cooling untouched. No hugs, no instant absolution, just a fragile bridge, planks laid over chasms. Driving back to the airport, Levi exhaled, weight lifting like fog. It wasn't enough. But it was something. Mason grinned, hand on Levi's thigh. "That's progress. Poet boy, back in New York." The reconciliation's afterglow fueled creation. Levi and Mason co-wrote Mended Strings, an album poetry hybrid, tracks interweaving Levi's spoken word with Mason's melodies, themes of betrayal and bomb. It debuted at 1 on Billboard's indie chart, critics hailing it as the queer redemption anthem America needs. The climax brewed in shadows. Derek, bitter from the fallout, leaked texts, twisted snippets painting Mason as the villain, Levi the naive mark. Tabloids feasted, Harper's heartbreak, lovers' betrayal exposed, photos surfaced, Mason and Derek entangled, timestamps damning. Levi's phone exploded, reporters, fans, Elena's damage control. He confronted Mason in their now spacious Brooklyn brownstone, printouts splayed on the coffee table. "Tell me it's fake." Mason's face ashen. "It's old." Prius reconciliation. Derek's revenge. "Old." Levi's voice shattered glass. "You said it was one slip." "This is a pattern." The alley fight erupted. Accusations hurled like hail. Mason's pleas drowned in Levi's rage. "I trusted you again. After everything, my family. This city chewing us up." Mason grabbed his coat. "I love you, Lev. But if you can't see past Derek's poison you drank first." Levi shoved him toward the door. "Get out. Alone." Levi spiraled. Calls to Ruth, who listened in tears. A binge read of his own words, mocking in their hope. Fame's facade cracked, cancellations whispered, sponsors wary. In the rain-lashed alley behind his brownstone, he collapsed against the wall, the Broadway sign flickering like a cruel joke. Lightning split the sky as sobs racked him, the weight of disownment, betrayal, love's fragility crashing down. Footsteps splashed. Not Mason, but a stranger? No. Hallucination born of despair. Or was it, in that nadir? Levi whispered to the storm, "Enough!" The human spark flickered, resilience, not ruin. Dawn broke gray over the alley, Levi's bones aching from concrete communion, but resolve hardened like frost. He didn't call Mason. Instead, he texted Elena, "Tour solo. Need the road." She booked it, 30 cities, poetry slams fused with acoustic sets. No co-bills. Mended String sales spiked amid the scandal. Irony's bitter pill. As fans rallied. Stand with Levi trending. Petitions for his family's public apology. The tour was catharsis on wheels. Chicago's lakeside readings under sodium lamps, where Levi owned the stage. voice steady as he unveiled Alley Requiem, a new piece born of the storm, verses dissecting betrayal's blade and love's slow stitch. Austin's queer festivals embraced him, drag queens lip-syncing his lines. LA's bookshops overflowed, celebrities demanding support. Each night, Mason's ghost lingered, a missed harmony, an empty harmony seat, but Levi filled it with audience echoes, turning pain into communal fire. Mid-tour, in Nashville's honky-tonks, Ruth appeared, unannounced, clutching a thermos of her apple cider, eyes brave behind bifocals. Saw your schedule. Had to come. They talked in a green room thick with amplifier hum. Her church's evolution, Harlan's therapy for old wars, their decision to donate book royalties to LGBTQ plus youth shelters. We're learning. Levi. Late, but true. He forgave not fully, a work in progress, but enough for a hug, her scent of vanilla and regret wrapping him like a quilt. Tell Dad. I'm proud too. Of the man he's becoming. She left with a promise. Real photos next Christmas. No pixels. Mason resurfaced in Denver, waiting post-show with wilted daisies and a demo USB track stripped bare. Folk roots reclaimed. Titled Echoes Unphotoshopped. I tanked it all, he said in the hotel bar. Voice raw. Derek sued me dry, but clarity's worth it. I wrote these for you. No labels. No lies. Levi listened to the demos on his phone. Songs of reckoning. Apologies woven into choruses. His name invoked like a prayer. Why should I believe you now? Because I walked away from everything but this. Mason slid a ring across the bar top, not diamond flash, but a simple silver band etched with barn-light motifs. Not marriage, if that's not us. Just commitment. Real as rain. Levi's walls trembled. It hurts. Mason. The scars. I know. Mason's hand open. Palm up. Let me trace them. Not deepen. They kissed then, tentative under bar lights, tasting of second chances and smoky whiskey. No rush to the sheets. Instead, a drive through the Rockies, windows down, Mason's guitar in the back. They talked till stars wheeled, fears aired, boundaries drawn, therapy together, no more industry wolves unchecked. Back in New York by spring 2020, pandemic shadows loomed, but their love adapted virtual readings. Mason's home sessions going live, Levi's words bridging quarantined hearts. The scandal faded, Derek's leaks backfiring into boycotts. Harlan and Ruth visited in July, masked and tentative. A picnic in Central Park, Harlan's handshake firm, stories swapped of farm failures and city triumphs. No cards that year, just a group photo, Levi's arm around Mason's waist, real as breath. Fame evolved too. Levi's Exile aria streamed to Broadway stages worldwide. Mason's solo EP raw harmonies topping folk charts. They co-founded a foundation, Echoes Outreach, mentoring disowned queer youth. Workshops in Ohio barns turned safe spaces. One evening, in their Brooklyn home, now with a garden patch of wildflowers, Levi read from his forthcoming Human Frames. We are not cropped. We are the whole picture, edges frayed but fierce. Mason strummed softly beside him, blue eyes soft. Our story, ours. Levi leaned in, lips meeting in quiet certainty. Betrayal's echo lingered, a minor chord, but love's melody overpowered, dramatic, emotional, romantic in its humanity. In America's vast, flawed tapestry, they wove their thread, Disowned yet reclaimed. Famous yet grounded. Two men against the ghosts. Building a legacy not of pixels, but presence. The rain pattered outside. A gentle applause, as they held each other whole, at last.